This is another quick Excel video on absolute references and named cells. So I've just set up a little simple spreadsheet here, and basically what we want to do is we've got a value in Australian dollars. We want to print it out in US dollars and euros. So what we might do is we might say something like equals, and then that times the exchange rate, press enter. So nothing really magical there. So you can just see here the formula is G3 times C3. That's fair enough. And we might then we'd want to do it to all of these. So you would think that we would be able to pull this down, right? And you can see that all hell breaks loose here. And something's wrong. So we have to have a look at what. So usually what you need to do is start with the formula. So C3 times G3 is right. But this is G4 times C4. Now C4 is the euro exchange rate, which is not right since we're doing US dollars. And this one is G5 times C5. So C5 is nothing. So you can see what we're doing, or what rather what Excel's trying to do. It's saying, well, you're going down, so I should bring both of those down as well. But it doesn't work in this instance. In this instance, we want to go, sure, we want this formula to be this formula we want to be G3 times C3, and this one's G4, and this one will be G5. So we want the G part to change. We don't want the C part to change. We want that C, we want it to stay at C3 basically. And the way you do that is with absolute referencing. And basically what you do is in the formula bar, you just go up the top here, make sure you've highlighted the cell that contains the one that you want absolute referencing on, and press F4. And you'll see that will prefix both the letter, the column, and the row address with $1. Now, some laptops you'll have to find out how you get a function key, or if you don't want to use the F4, you can manually type in the dollar signs, and that will work just as well. Press enter. You can see that the answer is still the same, $3.50, but now when I drag down, you can tell that you can see that this C3 is sort of locked in, right? So that's one way you can do it. You can use these absolute addresses, and they're used quite often in Excel, particularly when you're going back to a single thing. You can actually, there's some instances where you just want C and then $3. So you don't want to lock the C, but you do want to lock the 3. That's past the scope of this course. So for our purposes, you'll always be putting $1 before the column address and $1 before the row address. There's another way to do it. What we can do is over here, we haven't really touched this thing here, but it's called the name box. Now the name box actually lets you give a name to a particular cell, which can be quite useful. So in this case, we might just call it USD. And so you just type it in, press enter, and then that cell can be referenced by the term USD. So we could go into our formula, change that to USD, press enter, and once again, all the same answers, but it just works nicely. And so we could do the same trick maybe here. What we could do is we could set up the euro, and we could say, okay, so this equals this times, and then we want to say that, right? So we could use the absolute formatting, but what we'll do is we'll come over here and we'll call this euro. And then you can go equals this times, and then just type in euro. Or you can click on the cell and it will choose the name as well. But either way, once we've done that, we could highlight those two columns now, drag them down, and they will just work because we have this here. And you can see also that I've done a bit of fancy formatting there. So I've I've gone into format cells and I've actually selected the symbol euro. And so that is the basics of named cells. So these named cells are where you allocate a name, and absolute formatting is where you might want to type $C$3. Use the dollars to lock that so that when you copy and paste that cell, or when you drag down that cell rather, it will keep that absolute value. So that's absolute values and names.